You know that thing where someone walks up to you, smiling, clearly expecting you to know exactly who they are, and your brain just goes completely blank? Like, you know you've met this person. You've probably had a whole conversation with them, maybe more than once. But their name? Gone. Completely, utterly, embarrassingly gone. And now you're standing there, nodding, saying, "Hey, you!" Like that's a totally normal thing adults do. It's Psychology Unfolded, where we decode what makes you, you. Yeah, turns out your brain isn't being lazy. It's actually doing something fascinating. And today, we're diving deep into the psychology of people who forget names easily. Because, spoiler alert, it says a lot more about how your brain works than you think. So, why does this happen? Why can you remember the exact lyrics to a song you haven't heard since 2004, but you cannot, for the life of you, remember the name of the person you met at that dinner party last week? The answer isn't that you're rude. It isn't that you don't care. And it definitely isn't that something is wrong with you. It's actually about how your brain decides what's worth keeping. Here's the thing. Your brain processes around 11 million bits of information every single second. But your conscious mind? It can only handle about 40 to 50 of those bits at a time. So your brain is constantly making judgment calls. What gets stored, what gets tossed, what gets filed away in long-term memory, and what just evaporates the second it enters. And names, it turns out, are genuinely one of the hardest things for the brain to hold on to. Here's why. When you meet someone new, your brain is overwhelmed with incoming data. Their face, their voice, their body language, the context of where you are, the conversation you're already starting. Names are arbitrary. They don't describe anything about the person. Michael doesn't tell your brain anything useful. It's just a sound, a label. And your brain, ruthless efficiency machine that it is, doesn't automatically flag it as important. Psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus called this the forgetting curve, the idea that without active reinforcement, new information decays rapidly. Most of what we learn fades within hours, and names, because they're semantically empty, they carry no meaning on their own, are especially vulnerable to this decay. But here's where it gets really interesting. Research shows that people who frequently forget names tend to have particularly active, highly associative minds. Their brains are constantly making connections, drawing comparisons, pattern matching across everything they've experienced. When they meet someone new, their brain isn't just logging the name. It's already busy asking deeper questions. What's this person's energy like? Have I met someone similar before? What's the emotional vibe of this interaction? The name? The name is basically background noise, while the rest of the brain throws a full analysis party. There's actually a name for this in cognitive psychology. It's called the next in line effect, first studied by researcher Nalini Ambady. When we're focused on what we're going to say, or when we're deeply processing a social situation, our encoding of what we just heard drops significantly. You were so busy trying to make a good impression that your brain literally didn't write the name down. And then there's the face-name dissociation problem. Your brain stores faces and names in completely different regions. Faces are processed in the fusiform face area, a visual processing hub. Names are stored in the left temporal lobe, alongside language and verbal memory. These two systems don't always talk to each other efficiently. You can have a crystal clear image of someone's face and absolutely zero access to their name. It's not a character flaw. It's literally a structural feature of how human memory is organized. Now, here's the part that's going to make you feel a lot better about yourself. Studies in cognitive neuroscience consistently show that people with higher working memory loads, meaning people whose brains are processing more at any given moment, forget names at significantly higher rates. So if you're someone who's always thinking, always analyzing, always picking up on the emotional undercurrents of a conversation, you're not forgetting names because you're careless. You're forgetting names because your brain is genuinely full. Your mental RAM is just running too many tabs. And here's something nobody really talks about. There's a difference between encoding failure and retrieval failure. Sometimes you never actually stored the name in the first place. Your brain was too busy during the introduction. But sometimes the name is in there somewhere. It's just locked behind a door you can't find the key to. That's why you'll remember someone's name 3 hours later, completely out of nowhere, in the shower, staring at the ceiling. Your brain found the file. It just took a while. Neuroscientist Daniel Schacter at Harvard calls this one of the 7 sins of memory. Specifically, he calls it absent-mindedness. And the key finding? It's strongly associated with people who have rich inner lives. People who are frequently lost in thought, deeply reflective, highly imaginative. Your forgetting isn't a gap. It's almost a byproduct of depth. Now, before you use this as a permanent excuse to never learn anyone's name again, because I see you, there's something worth sitting with. Forgetting names can sometimes signal that you're not fully present in the moment of meeting someone. Not because you're a bad person, but because your brain has a habit of already being 3 steps ahead, already processing, already thinking, already somewhere else entirely. But here's the emotional layer that doesn't get talked about enough. For a lot of people who forget names easily, there's a real anxiety that follows. The embarrassment, the over-apologizing. Trying to get through an entire conversation without ever using the person's name and hoping they don't notice. The panic when you have to introduce 2 people you supposedly know. That social stress is exhausting. And it's real. What psychology tells us, though, is that this anxiety often makes the problem worse. When you're stressed about forgetting a name, your cortisol spikes, and elevated cortisol literally impairs memory consolidation. So the more you panic about forgetting, the more you forget. Congratulations, your brain has invented its own villain origin story. There are actual neuroscience-backed reasons why simple strategies work. Repeating a name immediately after hearing it, "Nice to meet you, Sarah," forces your brain to encode it more deeply by activating both auditory and verbal memory pathways simultaneously. Making a mental association, connecting the name to something visual, emotional, or even absurd, gives your hippocampus something to hook the memory onto. Because your brain doesn't remember isolated facts. It remembers stories, connections, context. The people who forget names easily are often the same people who remember how you felt in a conversation. They remember the thing you mentioned once in passing that mattered to you. They remember the look on your face when something made you light up. They're not storing the label, they're storing you. And honestly, in a world full of people who remember your name but never really see you, maybe that's not the worst trade-off. So next time you blank on someone's name, don't spiral. Don't perform a full internal funeral. Just take a breath and remember, your brain is busy. It's always busy. And that busyness, it's kind of the whole point. If this just explains something you've been low-key embarrassed about your whole life, drop a comment and tell me your best "I completely forgot their name" story. I know you have one. Don't forget to subscribe. We break down everyday habits and explain the psychology simply. And click one of these videos next. I promise it'll explain even more of you.